Welcome to Wheel of Horror, the podcast where two best friends spin a wheel once a week. It chooses the horror movie and they discuss it. Today we're talking about the 2003 remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which was directed by Marcus Nispel. I'm your co-host Alec.
I'm Eric, and with us again is Dom Berger. Dom, welcome back to the show.
Boys, I'm proud to be joining the six-timer club at this point.
Oh,
Are you 6? Damn, you're deep.
Yeah, wait. Let's just check that out. So we had Silence of the Lambs, Muppet
Ding,
Christmas, the Hannibal movie.
ding.
We have The Shining,
Dr. Sleep, that's
Dr.
5,
Sleep,
and this is 6.
Yeah.
Dude.
whoa. I mean,
Woo!
you are the first guest, Dom, too. Silence of the Lambs is our first guest episode.
Ooh, I loved it.
Damn, look at you, Dom.
You get your Wheel of Horror merit badge.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
and I got spoiled. Like the movies that I got to cover were fantastic, and I think this time I have more to say about the time around the movie than I do about the actual movie. I don't know if it's the same for you guys.
Well, one thing I want to ask you, Dom, is did you read the book version?
I did not.
I wonder if there is. I wonder if somebody turned this into like a novelized version of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but hopefully
For
not.
sure. Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and for those listening that aren't familiar with Dom, he usually is our book expert on all things Stephen King, mostly Stephen King films we talk about, and the Hannibal series, Hannibal the Cannibal.
Yeah, I can't wait until we do. I finished Red Dragon, so whenever we cover that, it's in the queue.
Definitely. Oh yeah, you'll be on way before that. I was thinking, Eric, is this our first? We've done the original, the 74, 73 version, and then is this the first remake that we've done where we did the original and then we've done the remake? I couldn't think of another one that we've done.
Not in order, I don't think. I think this is the first time we did the original and then the remake in order.
Right.
Like we've done the Blob, we've done the Thing, we've done what I can't even name the other ones right now, but we've done a lot of them out of order.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like we're more familiar with the newer ones. But yeah, this is in order. We can compare it really well to the old one.
And you've seen this, Dom, right?
Yeah, I saw this in theaters, I believe, and I feel like this movie marked like a shift in my teenage years. Growing up, I don't know if you guys remember, I was scared of everything, and I had the super wild imagination. So anything I saw on TV kind of freaked me out. So I stayed away from movies. And you guys both had a great knowledge at a young age of these movies. So I'd have Alec tell me the plot of all like the Nightmare on Elm Street movies on the bus, and then I'd go over to Eric's house, and Eric would show me like highlights. He had all the movies on DVD, so I'd sit with him, and he's like, "Okay, so this is Halloween. We're gonna fast forward through all the bullshit, and I'm gonna tell you the
We're gonna
important."
watch the first 10 minutes. You're gonna get that part, and then there's a bunch of Laurie Strode walking around carving pumpkins. We're gonna skip that shit. We're gonna get right to the killing.
Dude, this is what YouTube is nowadays, right? It's
Yeah.
just like a more public version of that. So, but then this movie kind of came out in 2003, right? So when I turned 13 and like girls started to be allowed to go to the movies, like that was like you could do like mini golf when you were younger, and then all of a sudden like girls could come to the movies. And I remember one of my friends explained to me, he's like, "Hey man, if you go watch something scary with a girl and you pretend that you're not scared, like you'll look really brave." And for real, I was like, "Oh, like no one knows that horror movies terrify me, and I would love to go to the movies with a girl." So I used to be like, "Hey, we should go see like Emily Rose or The Others." Do you guys remember like taking girls to the movies when you were like 13?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Dude, I'll never forget. Actually, this is maybe beep her name out, but one time she was in a movie with us, and the Dawn of the Dead trailer came on, and she screamed so loud that some guy in the back was like, "Shut up!"
Wow.
Classic.
Yeah. And it's so funny because a lot of the girls who had never seen slasher movies, stuff that you guys knew about, like pre 2000s, they'd be totally down to come to the movies and watch something like this with like stars they knew. So I remember distinctly, I would rent the DVD of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I would have like girls and guys come over, and it was like a good excuse to sit next to each other on the couch during a scary movie.
You guys had girlfriends?
I
I'm
was
kidding.
like,
I'm kidding.
"Hey."
What? You guys watch movies with girls?
Oh,
Was this the first movie then, Dom, that like you were starting to bring girls to, and so it, like stood out to you, or?
yeah. I remember distinctly like this was one of the movies we had like surround sound in my basement. And I remember thinking this movie was good enough that people would want to see it. And also it was not too scary. So I could like, sit through it without having a panic attack.
I don't know. It's so tainted for me because I love the original so much that it's like I watch this one, I'm just like, it's fine. It just feels like for a remake, it should have been like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre the next day, or like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I don't know, like it just feels like another day in the life of Leatherface. I don't feel like this needed to be like a remake of the original, you know. And I feel like it's different enough that it doesn't even kind of feel like a remake. But Eric, this
Interesting.
is your first time ever seeing this, right?
I've always wanted to see this movie, especially when I was younger. I was a big horror movie fan. I loved the poster for this, and I liked the where the poster comes from is like that photo at the end that they took. But yeah, I never got around to seeing this movie. I don't know why I never watched it, but I liked this film. I thought it was great. I think it was missing, unless I missed it, but I was missing. I liked the old one a lot because they kind of brought in why they're so messed up, and a lot of it has to do with machinery coming in and ruining their family business. They show that slaughterhouse at the end where they're running through. So that family was the original like farmers and slaughters, and they got kind of not ran out of town, but ran out of business because of the machinery and stuff. So it's I always liked that part of the original movie. So much built up angst, I guess. I don't know.
That's a really good point. I think that, Alec, I rewatched this movie expecting to come in and be like, this is terrible,
Yeah.
a lot of 2000s movies that they made right after this were like big stars, right? Final girl, very attractive, and there's something like that happening. People seem to really flock to that. But I'll tell you, when I rewatched this movie, it was beautifully shot. It is like there's some really like artistic and inspired shots in this movie, and it surprised the shit out of me. I was like, oh man, this was made with love. Like this wasn't just like Jessica Biel all wet running through the woods. It's definitely that, but it's also like the guy behind the camera. From some parts I had to like put like the sound down because I was watching it during work, and there's some really beautiful cinematography. Like really impressed like with the wood shots and anything to do with like those big houses. They really took advantage of those wide angle shots. It's really
Mm.
great.
Well, Dom, you know this, and Eric, this might surprise you, but it's the same cinematographer as the original one.
You're right.
It's the same cinematographer.
I didn't know that either. That's really cool.
So
Oh,
that's really cool that they were able to get the same guys like, hey, I remember what it was like, we were sweating our asses off. Now we got AC guys. Like, he probably was, remembering what it was like and took a lot of that knowledge. But you're right, Dom. The house is, I think, the best part of this movie, the way that it looks. It looks so good, especially from the outside.
so good. And they have so many great shots. They have like the silhouette at night. They have like a lot of those low swooping angles of the house. It looks really, really pretty.
I like the shot. I mean, at the beginning when it's a messed up shot where the girl shoots herself, but she shoots herself. We go back through the bullet hole, and then her head falls back, and we lose that hole through her head. Head falls back, and it shows them screaming in the van. I thought that shot was really well done.
Yeah, the way they muted the audio, like, and Alec knows this, but like they talk about this thing that we watch on YouTube. I've heard him bring it up a couple of times. Dead Meat, you guys should watch it if you don't. It shows how they did that shot practically, and they had to do it like a bunch of times. They did the effect where it moves outside of the car, probably, in post, but the amount of times they had to do it over and over again to make sure that camera went nice and smooth through like a dummy's head, it really paid off.
Well, they show a little bit in the Dead Meat episode, but I still don't really understand how they could have got that shot. Like it must have started in the fake head and then come out on like a track or whatever. But for the camera to be able to like adjust the depth or whatever as it's coming out, I'm like, that's a really impressive shot. Like it really
Very.
is.
100%. I mean, for all purposes, right? We have like a group of people that need to get murdered, right? So they
Yeah.
can't develop them too much. Eric, was that the guy from Lost? The blonde hair guy? Was that Boone or
No, I don't think that was him. I forgot who
oh,
that
it
No.
actor
looks
was.
it looks so similar, but there's a couple of really great characters. They're just not the main characters, right? You have the sheriff who's
Oh,
also the sergeant from Full Metal Jacket, and he
yeah.
was phenomenal, dude. I couldn't look away.
Yeah, he's disgusting, dude. Some of the dialogue he said, I'm just like, oh, like I don't even like it made me cringe even hearing it out loud again.
He does a great job, and the scene where he's interrogating the hippie in the car, and just the way that he's lit from underneath, it makes his eyes darken out, and like for a solid 3 minutes, it's a great scene. At some point, the girls start slamming on the front of the car, and it kind of loses me a bit. But the scene between the full medic jacket guy and the hippie, like they were doing some solid acting work there.
Yeah, I mean, it does. I think the thing is the acting is good. It looks really good. The music's intense. There's nothing wrong with this movie. It's just it's the original is such a masterpiece and it has such a gritty feeling and it leaves you just feeling gross when it's over. So this movie, just for some reason, it just feels too Hollywood to me.
Dude, you know what's interesting is I never saw the original before I saw this one. So
Oh,
coming in fresh, I'm gonna agree with you, but for different reasons. So it's shot well, it's acted. There's chunks of that are acted pretty well, but it still does feel that hollow feeling. And I think that's because like at some point the ratio switches so much that it's Jessica Alba running away from Leatherface for a good 40 minutes,
yeah.
maybe 50. A couple of times I'm watching it and I kept looking down at my watch being like, is she still in the final girl chase?
I mean, pretty much. Like most of the movie is her running, but it's different because her friends are still alive. Like in the original one, all of her friends are dead, and then she's running her way. But this one, she's like slowly seeing her friends. She's like, "Oh my god, you're still alive! Like holy crap!" And then, like trying to save them, which is different. Like I don't know. Like I used to really hate this movie, and I think watching it again now is like it for a remake. It is still pretty original. It just takes the core idea and then goes in a kind of different way, I guess.
I felt like it was made by a really big fan of the movie. Like, it just felt like someone who really loves Texas Chainsaw Massacre made this movie. I don't hate this movie. I think it's really well done. It's just like it just doesn't hold up to the original.
I agree. It was made with love. Like there was some like someone has a real passion about it. I gotta say, so Jessica Biel, she is everyone's sweating in this car in this van, and she's spotless. I know they have to keep her spotless because she gets progressively more dirty as the movie goes on, and she's wet a number of times and disgusting. But I remember I was watching in the beginning, and am I wrong, or was the hitchhiker walking the same direction as the van?
Walking like they were like the
Yeah,
way it was
they
driving?
were they were driving past her as she was going in that direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, "Why?" Like they kept going down the road, and she's like, "You're going the wrong way." It's like, so were you going the wrong way?
I think she was trying to run away, I feel like.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so they were driving past her and then they got yeah, I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't know. I will say one thing, I really looked deep, deep, deep into this, and I was like, where are they going?" They say they're going to a Leonard Skinner concert, alright? So I looked all this up 'cause I'm a psychopath. So I looked up Leonard Skinner in 1973, and they were touring, but they were only in Georgia. Like their first album just came out. Like Freebird hadn't come out. I think the song Sweet Home Alabama had just come out, and they're saying like, "Oh, we're going to see Skinner in concert," like sort of thing. Like it's this big band. They're just starting out. They're opening for people still, and they were only in Georgia at that time in 1973. So are they driving cross country with weed? I want to know these freaking questions. I want to know these answers.
Did they say Skinnerd, or was that just a song they were listening
No,
to?
they're going
They
to see
said Skinner.
Skinner because that's a thing throughout the movie. They keep saying he's like, "I like Skinner," and then he smashes the bottle on his face, like, "Look, we got more in common now," sort of thing. So yeah, they're going to see Skinner in concert, and I was
Yeah,
just
except
like,
Skinnerd isn't a thing yet, really.
kind
Yeah.
of. They're opening for other bands, and they're only playing in Georgia at that time. But he's just like, "Yep, I'm going to see Skinner because it's convenient for this song."
Yeah.
Fucking liars. No, it's a.
Movie ruined. Thanks, Alec.
I know. Way to shatter the illusion.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm really interested to hear what you thought, Eric, because like this is your first time seeing it. What did you like about it?
I mean, I liked Leatherface. I thought they did a good job with him. He looked bulkier. I feel like heavier, more like someone who eats a lot of meat. Remind me of, like the bad guy from True Detective more than anything. But like we were talking about, like how this movie, like, oh, it's it's just a like the saying nipples on the costume from Batman Forever. It's like,
Mhm.
why the hell they have nipples on Batman's costume? That's a saying they say with movies that just like, oh, they're just remaking this movie and putting the nipples on the costume, meaning they're just going to add pizzazz to it. This movie does that a little bit, but it doesn't. It does a great job with Leatherface.
Mm.
I felt the costume was good. The size difference from the original guy, Gunnar Hansen. I just felt like they did a good job with Leatherface.
Dude, I was surprised when Jessica Biel hacked his arm off.
Yeah.
I was like, What?
That doesn't happen in the original, but his leg gets really hit hard in the
Yeah, but
original.
that's believable because of the chainsaw falls on it. This was like
She hit him with a meat cleaver and cleaned his arm off. Yeah,
from
that's a
from
lot.
a terrible angle. She's like
Yeah,
crouched
Bro,
she hacked right
upwards.
through
bro,
it.
no, that was one thing. The thing alright, I'm gonna say a couple things right now, and it might get a little silly. But the first thing I saw where I was like, "Get the fuck out of here," was when he hung the guy up on this little dinky chandelier by his handcuffs, remember
Oh,
that?
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "So that chandelier must have been put in by the freaking Property Brothers if it was holding like, that it would immediately come out of the ceiling." Like
Yeah.
like to hold a 200-pound like probably 190, 180-pound person. No, you're not holding shit. And he's freaking out. No, that thing's coming straight down. I was like, okay, geez. And it's like an old house. Like, come on. That and two, I'm gonna say this. And I mean this. Like, I'm not the fastest person in the world. I could easily outrun Leatherface. First of all, the guy's carrying a 15-pound chainsaw. That's already like I'm leagues ahead of you already. Two, he's in full freaking slaughterhouse garb and a mask in the Texas heat. I'm out. He will never catch me. He will never, ever, 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 no matter how many times I trip, I'm out. He will not get me.
I feel so bad for the Morgan character, the hippie, because he literally had to be like, I'm gonna sit in the back of this van while my buddy like feels up this girl in front of me for some reason. Then they get arrested. Then the guy gets the thing smashed on his face after like a very trying thing. So he gets rescued, quote unquote, by Jessica Biel, only to sacrifice himself. And he throws himself into Leatherface. Leatherface drops the chainsaw and Jessica Biel's like, "Stop it. Stop it. Like, pick up the fucking chainsaw. Are you out of your mind?"
I know. I know. There's a lot of moments in the movie where you're just like, "Come on." Like,
And then he gets a chainsaw to the fucking nuts. That's like how it ends.
Yeah, the chandelier scene. Just
Yeah.
straight up. Yeah, that's
Literally,
horrible.
it's not bad enough that he got recaptured and he was hung by a chandelier. Like, he brought the
It's like, thanks for
chainsaw.
saving me, Jessica Biel. I really appreciate it in this
Yeah, and
moment.
she's like, "Oh, sucks for you. Later, bro."
uh, I guess about the violence a little bit in this movie. The one thing is the original one, everybody's so scared of it. They say, "Oh, it's so graphic, it's so grotesque." You go back and watch the original one. There is very little gore. It leaves a lot up to the imagination. It cuts away a lot before you see anything. Not very much gore. This movie was all gore, just like torturous gore. I didn't want to see that guy on the hook just like surviving for that. Like that just made me like really uncomfortable. And I was like,
I
that's what makes me not like this version versus the original.
I disagree, and I don't think there's a lot of gore in the original, but it's
No.
deeply disturbing
Yeah.
Yeah.
where it makes up for the gore. Where yeah, there's the meat hook in the original. There's the hits the guy in the head with the hammer, and there's the steel door scene, which they reenacted in this movie. But the way he was twitching and stuff in the original just haunts me. And the ice box scene when she like opens the thing and the body's in the ice box, all like the animals, the ending when the grandpa's sucking the finger, like dude, there's a lot of not gore but disturbing minor gore, I guess. And also the chainsaw does hit Leatherface's leg really rough
Right.
too in the movie.
Yeah, it
Just
cuts
really
into
quick
it.
to your point though, Eric. So you saying like when the guy got hit in the head with the hammer and seeing his leg twitch, that sticks with you in the icebox. That's true. But your brain is filling in what's making that fucked up. Like where this one, it's like you're seeing a hook continuously going into a guy's back. You're seeing a guy getting like cut up from his balls up to his face with a chainsaw. Like you're seeing this shit. Where in the other one, it's more like your brain's like, whoa, that's fucked up. And then it makes you think why it's fucked up, as opposed to the director showing you something fucked
Well,
up.
so you're saying maybe they would have done a better job where they showed that like yeah, he's gonna cut the guy from the groin all the way through the head, but they don't really show it. They just show the chainsaw like down and then up, and then
I
like
don't know.
your mind plays it in your head like, oh, that's how he went out. That sucks.
Yeah.
It's also a product of the time, right? This is pre like Saw movies and like Hostel and all those torture porn things, which became a huge trend, right? Like that, like definitely.
Oh yeah,
But yeah, I agree with like some of the deaths, man. Like when he salts the guy's stump when he's being
Yeah.
hung up, like man, that was tough. But to Eric's point, I still think about the dinner scene from the original, the 74 Chainsaw Massacre, and it still rattles me.
yeah. It's just more disturbing than gore, but
Yeah, and
yeah.
it sticks with you. Like you remember that. I feel like this is like this I've seen this 100 fucking times and
I'm
so
gonna forget. I'm gonna forget a lot of this in about 3 years. Like it's gonna be like long gone. I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of remember that chainsaw going through the groin. Can't really picture it though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude. Like I couldn't remember any specifics, but there really aren't too many, you know? A lot of it is just like what Jessica Biel is going to make her way through. She walked into that room where they hung all those like the skin and the fly pads, and all I could think to myself was like that's probably where corona happened. Like that is COVID right there.
Yeah, seriously, especially with the pig heads with all the flies on it and stuff, you're just like, "This is disgusting." Uh,
Yeah.
I wanted to mention Jessica Biel, her outfit too. I mean, I'm not complaining at all, but I just wanna say, like, that knot in her t-shirt, like, that would have fallen a million times over when she's it stays in a perfect knot the entire movie so you can see her midriff, and you're like, "This is just, like, completely unbelievably unrealistic." Like, you're really? Like, really? It's gonna stay in a knot the entire time? She's being thrown around by Leatherface, thrown down by the cop, like, all this stuff.
Don't feel I mean, like, I'm like, no one was woke at that point and blah, 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 and I'm still in awe of Jessica Biel and how incredible she looks. I'm not saying that that means anything and whatever, I'm glad that society is growing as a culture, but there's also something to be said about how beautiful Jessica Biel is. It's hard to not root for her.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
this was Jessica Biel, like, yeah, prime, like before Justin Timberlake got a hold of her. Like, yes, this is like when Jessica was. Who is she dating at the? Oh, she's still Seventh Heaven at this time.
I
She was
don't know.
definitely making like a departure from.
This is a quick way to do it. That's probably why she did it.
That triple tap that she does, like,
With the
oh,
car, that was sick. That was sick.
what
Oh,
happened
yeah.
was she's like this final girl, and then all of a sudden, the hitchhiker that they pick up that lived, she's like, "Oh, like, how do you know how to hotwire a car?" And Jess is like, "I didn't tell you, I was in juvie." And for the rest of the movie, she's pulling badass shit, like
Yeah.
hacking people's arms off and running over that sheriff 3 times. And then all of a sudden, she just looks over, and the baby's like riding shotgun. And you're like, "Oh no!"
Yeah, so, what yeah, whose baby is that?
That's the hitchhiker's baby
Is it,
from
Definitely.
though?
the beginning. Yes, they said that. Yeah,
Okay, but so then the hitchhiker woman grew up with them, right? So then it's like, "You stole that baby."
yeah.
So she's taking, I guess, like, what, like, Leatherface's, like, inbred niece or nephew or whatever?
Yeah, it's like, "This is my niece."
I mean, right? Isn't that kinda what happened? Like, she just stole, like, one of their, like, clan.
Is the hitchhiker related to that family, or was that another person traveling through town and they stole the baby? That's what I thought.
Well, there's the picture. They find that picture, like, which is in, like, a glass bottle of water or whatever, remember? And they find the
It didn't look
Oh,
like water, but I'm not gonna ask any questions.
oh, well, whatever it is. And they're
yeah,
looking
maybe.
at it and they're just like, "Oh, like, that isn't that girl?" Or what and it's, like, her with, like, a family. So,
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know. We would have to look that one up. Like, I guess I kind of lost that part of the plot.
yeah.
Eric,
It
what'd you think of when Leatherface turns around and he's wearing Kemp's face?
Jeez, man, that's some quick craftsmanship. Like the guy from Silence of the Lambs, like Buffalo Bill, man, he had to work hard for something like that. He just tears the face off and it fits perfectly where his face. Yeah, okay. That was crazy. I was not expecting that though. I'll tell you that. I was like, "Oh shit, that's terrifying." If that was to happen to you, that'd be terrifying. But
Dude, like rewatching it, I think that was one of the shots that I was like, "Wow, I forgot how creepy that was."
yeah, it's like me. I'm like, I have to turn around for a face swap. It's at least 2 weeks. Like I don't know. Like,
Yeah, it's like, "I'll give you an estimate. Here's the estimate. Hold on.
Yeah.
I'll talk to my
I'll give you a
FaceTime."
receipt.
all right, you want it done quickly? Okay, it's gonna cost you though. Leatherface, come here. Like,
We do. It's interesting. They swap out the name. It goes from Sawyer to Hewitt, and they add a character with the legless. Whatever that older guy, and then you get the woman. So there's new characters.
get Jedediah, the kid who's like, I'm gonna save you because my family's weird.
Oh, so yeah, Jedediah. Let's talk about him. Why does he care? Why is he good? Like, if he was a little kid who's been around that his whole life, wouldn't you think he'd just be like, "Yeah, get him, Leatherface"? Like, why
I'm
does?
guessing that girl took care of him, whoever was like in the van who shot herself, and like no one's ever been nice to him except for these outsiders. So he sees Jessica Biel and he's like, "Oh, another nice girl," and that's why he uses those ridiculous
Yeah.
teeth to bite in.
Maybe
I
he's
guess
just sick of the smell. Maybe he's just sick of the smell of everything. Do you know how bad Leatherface's face must smell when it gets wet by those sprinklers? Ugh,
Dude, where is that water
ugh.
coming from? Because if the plumbing upstairs is anything like the plumbing in the basement, the plumbing upstairs, it's like rust-colored water just shooting out.
Yeah.
Downstairs, it's an entire room full of like clean water.
Yeah.
I think oh, no, that was a different house. That wasn't their house. That was the meat packing place that put that family out of business.
Gotcha.
That's the thing they don't really go into in this movie, but they give like a little, "Oh, yeah, I remember, like, the family, like, got put out of business and that the whole meat packing facility came into town and, the whole family was messed up from it."
Mm.
Hmm. It's weird though, because you look at this and there's like, all right, clearly this is a remake. It's got the same title. It basically follows pretty much the same plot, but I don't know what it is. If they had called this something different, like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre the day before or something like that, and it's like in the same universe as the original one, and it's just another day in the family or whatever, another day for Leatherface, where it coincides with the original. I think the fact that it's a remake is what kind of like upsets me because it's just it isn't. It's different. There's no Franklin. There's no kid in the wheelchair. They're not going to find their old house. Like they have weed. There's all these different things
Well,
about it.
yeah, and the original started off with these guys were grave robbing, and they got notice that their grandparents were robbed, so they went to the cemetery, and that's how the story starts to, like, check on their loved ones' graves were ruined,
Yeah. But you know
so
what you see what I mean though? It's almost like the Friday the 13th remake where it's like this doesn't feel like a remake, it just feels like another chapter in this story.
it's an alternate version of it. That's
Right.
all it is. It's a different version of the movie, so it's like Texas Chainsaw Massacre version 2.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of what I mean. I don't know. It's different enough where it doesn't feel that like that much of a remake, but still. It's a good movie. I liked it much better this time, but I still prefer the original like miles ahead.
Mm. Yeah, it's better than I remember it being. There's definitely some cool stuff in terms of like what they did with the camera, but just like you guys were saying, I'm not gonna remember this in like T minus a day.
Yeah, no, I know.
Right. It just yeah, there's something about it. Eric, you might find this interesting. Is another thing from Dead Meat is apparently Gunnar Hansen and the guy that played Leatherface in this one, they had like a huge back and forth like battle. Like his name, oh, Andrew Bernardsky. Yeah,
I'm
apparently
looking it up.
they hated each other and when Gunnar Hansen died, apparently he just wrote boo hoo. That was like his tweet or whatever.
Just
Ooh,
tweet out.
cold,
Oh,
cold-blooded.
It was just
so
like
cool.
years of back and forth. Like there's a video of Gunnar Hansen like doing an impersonation of him. He's like, "This is how Andrew shuts the door," and he's like trying to slam. He's like, "Oh," like struggling to shut. He's like, "This is how the original does it." Like slams it sort of thing. So there's like a lot of shots being fired from both sides. But
It's the weirdest shit talk I've ever heard in my life.
Would you wanna see an old man Leatherface?
I
Wouldn't be
would,
as cool.
but not for this movie. Gunnar Hansen, like it wouldn't have made sense.
No, it wouldn't have, so
But just
I
shots
mean,
fired.
For Michael Myers, like, to get Nick Castle to play in a couple scenes as Michael Myers, he's not doing much more than walking around and stuff, and, like, standing there. Aside from doing the killing, which I don't think Nick Castle really did a lot of that stuff, but Gunnar Hansen, you're gonna have to run around with the chainsaw, constantly be moving, like, wearing a mask, like, with garb, and yeah, that's a tall order for someone probably his age, so I don't even know how old he would be then, but
It's not a sequel either. It wouldn't have made sense for Gunnar Hansen.
no.
He would have been an old man, so it would have been like, "Is this
as
old
as much
Leatherface?"
as I like the original people involved, like I get it. So I wish he did too, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, anybody got any last minute thoughts on Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
I wish they ended the credits with the song "Small Town" by John Cougar Mellencamp.
I was
It's like,
born.
damn, yeah, I was born in a small town. Like, cause that's what the whole movie is. It's like this town is small. Like,
Oh, you know the like older fat lady who's just like, you should have some tea. You should calm down. You know that lady?
yeah,
She was killing it in like the early to mid 2000s. She was in this. She was in Hills Have Eyes. She was in No Country for Old Men. She was in a lot of movies.
She sure was, and she played the same character in
the
every
deep
movie.
South woman who's overweight. Like,
Yeah, it's like, oh, yes, you shouldn't do that. Or like, yeah, she's the manager of like where when Sugar comes or whatever. He's like, I need to see the room. He's like, no, you can't get it.
right, yeah. Oh my god. Uh,
Yeah. Dom, you got any last minute thoughts?
I liked the ending like footage, right, where it's like reenacting that attack. I thought that was interesting. I thought that was real for the longest time.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I was 13.
Yeah.
I
It is.
Definitely.
I mean,
there's no other better date than like bringing a girl and going to see a movie with like rotting animals and smelly like it's nothing more comforting. So you did well there.
Yeah, it was a definitely a game changer.
yeah, it's a good one, and it did really kick off like a huge just remake kick in the 2000s. I mean,
House of Wax is like the same exact movie if you've ever seen that one with Paris Hilton and Alicia Cuthbert. Like that is like the same kind of movie. It felt like.
just they just gored it up.
Yeah, like the teenagers going camping, like all just straight up, yeah, the gore, like gored it up, yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
loved the Dawn of the Dead remake. I love that came out.
Oh, that one's good. That one's good. Yeah.
There were a couple. I think I look back at them now and I'm like, they're not as bad as I remember. They're still not as good. And you can just watch the original one, but
Mm,
I got a gripe with remakes.
yeah.
Well, Dom, thank you again for joining us. Number 6.
Thank you, Dom.
Thanks for having me, guys. I love it.
We'll get you on board for another one in the very near future.
All right, think it's about time to spin that wheel.
Oh, Erik, spin it.
Spinning. Cabin Fever.
Cabin Fever. This is another like 2003-ish movie, right?
About, I think, maybe 90s. Maybe I'm gonna have to look up real quick.
Yeah, this is with Sean from Boy Meets World.
2002. Yeah, right around the same time.
You ever seen this one, Dom?
I have not. I've seen the trailers for it, and I was like, Sean Hunter's in a horror movie?
Yeah. Oh, sweet. All right, cool. This will be a fun one to talk about. Well, Dom, thanks again, and we will see everybody next week for Cabin Fever. And don't forget to check out Sci-Fi Summer, which will air this Thursday with Blade Runner.
Woo!